What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Football Smackdown. I'm your host for tonight's episode, Jake Rip. You can find me on Twitter at JakeTakesFF. And folks, joining me as always, you know him, you love him. Let's get a big round of applause for Kyle August.
Thank you. Studio audience always coming through strong. Some asshole guest decides to boo from the peanut gallery, but that's all good. Jake, what up, bro? Good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you said it. We have a very special guest tonight.
Yes, special guest. That's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah. If you've been rocking with Kyle for the past few years, you might already be familiar with this man. He is on Twitter at, I should have asked before, is it Lucky Strike?
Yes. That's
That's what that is. Oh.
LUKYSTRYK joining us all the way from Australia. Give it up for G.
the lucky strike was I still like Formula One because they actually go in different directions. I like that NASCAR thing that just keeps going around in a circle. But I was a big fan of Jenson Button, being of British heritage, well, pardon me anyway, and he was driving for the Lucky Strike Honda team. I thought this is when you had to, have a what is it, Twitter? What do you call those things?
A handle?
A handle, whatever. And I thought, well, I don't want to put down Lucky Strike because I'm against cigarettes, so I'll just spell it my own way. So that's how I ended up with Lucky Strike. It doesn't mean that if, my wife got lucky and, she struck it with me or anything like that.
That's what I thought. I wrote down the Twitter handle before we started the show, and I made a mental note to myself. I was like, I have to ask him before we go live what that is. And it kind of came to me as I was pronouncing it. But all right, we're past that. Lucky Strike. Yeah. Follow G on Twitter.
Well, don't follow me because I don't tweet out. I'll react to people, but that's it.
Go give him a follow. Listen, I don't tweet that much either, but I still throw my Twitter handle out there. Kyle here, he's the real one you want to be following at Kyle Month 8. But listen, fun fact for you people out there, because I'm going to say no one knows this who's listening to this show, but I actually used to be called G back in, I think it was like 5th or 6th grade. I don't know exactly how the nickname came to me, but I do remember, it was off of, I don't know if either of you guys were watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air back in the day, Will Smith. But Will Smith would always call his butler Jeffrey G. And I think one of my buddies just took that and decided to make that my nickname. It got to the point where even the teachers were calling me G. My name being Jake, not a G in my name, but my name ended up being G for the next 2 years. I made an email address that was G, my last name that I've been using my entire life. On AOL.com, RIP, that email address. But so that's the history of me being G.
Well, I just made up G because when we started doing the pod, I think I'm not a big fan of my name. Like Greg is just like, well, it's Gregory, and that's only when I'm in trouble from my mum. It's a Scottish name. It's just like G sounds easy, and I figure, well, the way the youth are today is that they're abbreviating absolutely everything. So if I get in and grab G early, it's mine,
Okay,
that's what I did.
You completely planted your flag on G, so now it's yours. Patent pending, 100%. All right, perfect.
Exactly.
Love it. On today's show, guys, we're going to be debating some of the landing spots that we do or do not want some of these teams to be addressing in the NFL draft, which is now, as we are recording this, just 3 days away. It seems like we've been counting down the months and then the weeks, and then I just know it's going to get to Wednesday and I'm going to really start getting that itch. But I always feel like going into these drafts, we always feel like we have it figured out, right? It's like, it's all chalk. We know that it's going to be Lawrence, Wilson, Mac Jones, Kyle Pitts, Penei Sewell in that order, and then someone always screws it up. And G, I think we know who's going to screw it up this year, right? Who's the ultimate wild card in this draft coming in at number 4? I got to get your take real quick on the Atlanta Falcons.
But that's to me, if I was the Falcons, who have we got there? We've had Pitts going there. We've had Trey Lance has been big going there. They're about the two main ones that I've heard. Or the other option is to trade out and allow someone to come up. And like we have to look at Kyle Pitts would be good. Do we have to look at a quarterback for now? I suppose how often do you get the 4th pick overall? And I'm thinking Falcons will probably be up there again next year. More than with our defense, I don't think it's going to improve that much over the course of 8 months.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it seems like Falcons fans are kind of divided up into two camps. You're either the camp that's like, okay, Matt Ryan's got a few more good years left, and let's ride with that, and let's go get Kyle Pitts, and let's go win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years. Or you're in the camp that's like, okay, Matt Ryan is he's declining. He's on the tail end of his career. Like you just said, let's take advantage of where we're sitting right now with the overall pick and grab one of these quarterbacks. But I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I don't think they've got a great roster. I don't think they're contending no matter who they take it for this year. So I think they're back in that top 10 and they can take another run at a quarterback. I don't think it has to be forced this year.
No, I think we're going to be, even if we're not as high to pick this time next year, I think we might be high enough to maybe move up to grab a quarterback. But I don't know if the quarterback, I have no idea what the quarterback class is like next year. I'm not a Devy guy, so I've got no idea. So maybe you take it while it's there. But Trey Lance, it's like we've seen plenty of quarterbacks come up that have all the tools. But he's hardly played any football. Like it's a big risk. But then again, if you don't take the risk and somebody else grabs and he turns into superhero, you go, damn, like we could have had it. But that's the same with every pick that you have, isn't it? Really. Unless they're the Jags and you take Lawrence, and if Lawrence fails, you go, well, mate, everybody else would have taken him.
So what is if you can have it your way, you're the GM, what are you doing as the Atlanta Falcons? Because I get asked this question all the time. People
trading back.
Yeah, and that's the answer that I give them. It seems like there's no for sure person to take it for. You're either taking the whoever's remaining of the top 4 quarterbacks chosen. Whoever falls to you, you're I hate to say stuck with that guy because you're still going to get a great quarterback in theory. But
there's nothing wrong with Matt Ryan. Look, what the hell's wrong with Matt Ryan? There's more than half the league would love to have Matt Ryan as a quarterback. I'm just, how old's the guy? 30? What is he? 36?
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
mate, he's not bad, is he? I don't think he's that. He's not throwing for 2,700 yards and 10 touchdowns a year. He's not Cam Newton.
No, and again, if we're looking, if and something came out today about people are calling about Julio Jones and kicking the tires on a Julio Jones trade.
Well, that I wouldn't. I can understand because of where the Falcons are now. We had our shot and we blew it. 28-3. So do we trade away Julio? Which I hate because I like guys that play and guys that.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yep.
Yeah, do we do that and does that put us in a position we can get a chase? Do we drop down and we get a chase? Like, I'd be happy with that. You have to. Everything rolls on. Everything moves on. Father time. Just you have to update.
But as far as Matt Ryan goes, like I have trouble seeing him actually struggling. We already see what he can do with Julio Jones, and then we see what he can do with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. Now, if you're going to add Kyle Pitts to that mix, I can't see any reason that Matt Ryan can't be, I dare say, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Kyle, it seems like a good time for you to chime in. What do you think about all this Falcons talk, my friend?
I mean, it's a tough spot because you have the situation where do you expect to be here again? I mean, I'd write it out with Matt Ryan. The best thing you can do is hope that somebody else wants one of the remaining quarterbacks at forward and get back. Unlike Detroit last year, which for some reason just sat there and took their pick, even though there were probably people willing to move up in that spot. As a Cowboys fan, I hope you guys just take Pitts or Chase or whatever so that it pushes the quarterbacks down a little bit more and maybe gives Dallas a little bit more of a chance that they can trade the hell out of there. Because I mean, I think ideally, if you don't need a quarterback, if you're not in the market for one and you have a top 10 pick, hopefully you can trade out, get some draft capital, and that entire year of just sucking balls is all worth it because we all had to sit through this all last year. You guys as Falcons fans, myself as a Cowboys fan, the whole last year just sucked, and it all pays off for this moment. So how your team decides to do it this week is whether it's going to pay off or not. So that's the crazy thing about the draft. That's why it's so much fun.
First of all, Kyle, don't act like you can commiserate with us Falcons fans. You finished with a bad record because your superstar quarterback was hurt. We finished with a bad record because you had a bad team.
I mean, our defense was even worse than yours. So yeah. I'm not sure how many – we would have won a division. We'd be exact probably where Washington is right now, middle of the draft, because we snuck in there. Maybe at 500, but I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I've gotten burned too many times trying to guess what the Cowboys are thinking or what they're gonna do. So but that's why this is fun, man. Is we're sitting here, everybody knows everything as of today, right? And then by Friday, it's all gonna look like trash. But
G, I want to kick it to you to bring us a team or a landing spot that you think needs filled. But before I do, I did make another note here, because I was very eager to ask you. This is my first time speaking to someone on the other side of the planet, so this kind of stuff intrigues me. And for other people that might have been listening, or you might have had this conversation already with Kyle, but I had a couple questions. So first of all, I'm curious, you're a Falcons fan, correct?
Yes.
How does an Australian choose their favorite NFL team? Is it pretty much you just choose whoever you like, whatever your favorite colors are? And also, is there like a team Australia, like how you could say like in London, like they're all Jacksonville fans, they take on the Jags? Is there like a team in Australia?
Well, for start, the way I got into the Falcons was I was in the States traveling in, when was it? 1990, 91 as a young 21-year-old guy. Geez, that makes me sound old, doesn't it? Oh, I am old. And I was just sitting on the couch one day after a pretty big night at a club, and I was watching a Falcons Saints game. And I'm going, mate, the Falcons were that's when they had the black with that sort of the silvery sort of what do you call those things? I don't know. I don't want to call them tights.
Let's just call them, for the sake of this conversation, pants.
Pads.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
And I was just watching them, and they won the game on a Hail Mary, and then they got the lead on a Hail Mary pass, and then they started like laterally throwing the ball near the end of the game. Going, man, how cocky are these guys? Like this is fantastic. So I thought, mate, nice. I've got to pick a team. I like the black. The black looks pretty good. I don't know. It's quite weird because before I traveled to America, the team that I actually sort of went through on the way there were the Bengals, because here in Australia, I follow a team called the Tigers. So it sort of just correlated pretty well. And then also the Steelers, because the yellow and black is the same color as the team I follow here in Australia, which is yellow and black. But I just never, I don't know, maybe because I wasn't in America and I didn't watch it. It wasn't really on TV here. You get highlights on like a Sunday afternoon or something like that.
Well, perfect. That was going to be my second question was, I was going to ask what the schedule is like for you as an NFL fan, because me being on Eastern Standard Time in Pittsburgh, I love to debate about the NFL schedule, because I'm like, oh, they throw this primetime game on.
Dude, don't bitch. Don't bitch.
At night while I'm trying to sleep. Such a pain in the ass. So when
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock's the first game. 3 a.m.
3 a.m.'s the kickoff?
3 a.m. It depends. It changes as we go into like daylight savings and stuff like that. It becomes 5 a.m., which is a bit better. But, mate, there's been plenty of times in fantasy, and I've sort of got past it now, where I used to set my alarm for like 10 to 3.
Oh, you got to.
And just go through to see who the ins and outs were of guys that are on my roster in my fantasy leagues, that were sort of, hovering on the edge of whether they're going to play or not. But, it got to the point where my wife was just getting really pissed off that my phone was going off at 2:45 in the morning. I'm sitting there, and because you know what it's like in the dark, you turn your phone on, the whole room lights up, So, and then when I do the Scott Fishbowl and stuff like that, when we do the drafting, I sleep on the couch.
Oh, perfect. I mean,
dedication.
Yeah, so that's the commitment that I have in the Scott Fishbowl to the people I play with, whoever I'm against that year, is I'll stay on the couch because I don't want them waiting too long for the pick. So I set my phone for every hour, and every hour my phone goes off and I wake up to see if I'm on the clock, which is ridiculous. But, people appreciate it. I must admit that.
I love it. I love it. Well, I've derailed us far enough now. Why don't you go ahead and tell me a team or a landing spot, something you had in mind, G, that you'd like to see happen in this draft?
Yeah, and just on, does Australia have a team? Well, I suppose you'd probably say the Raiders, because for some reason their merchandise is all around the world, even if you don't follow them. Every shop you go into that sells anything to do with American football there'll be a Raiders cap, T-shirt, hoodie. It's just the way it is.
In retrospect, that's a damn shame. They should have went with someone more winning. They should have been like Patriots fans. Or I don't want to say
exactly. Ugh. Well, you see that round, but yeah, without a doubt, in the Raiders, you see people walk around with Raider tops on. They have no idea who even the quarterback of the Raiders is, but and they just think it's a badass team, you know.
Yeah, it's nice merchandise.
Yeah. Nice merchandise.
Just win, baby.
Just win. Okay, so we'll kick this off. So I'm going to upset Jerry Sinclair straight up. And I'm gonna take the Detroit Lions, mate. Ooh, how about receiver? Do you think they need a receiver?
Yes,
they do. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Look what the Packers did last year. They were fine.
Yeah, the Packers have Aaron Rodgers. There's a difference. But let's have a look. They got at the moment the starting three, as it is on our lads, is
I know this because I looked it up. It's in my notes too. So
Brashad Perriman, Tyrell Williams, and Khalif Raymond. Like the number 4 guy, Quintus Cephas, is
spending that money this offseason, bro. Look at bringing all those free agents.
Quintus Cephas is probably the guy that I like the most actually on the roster.
That's hilarious.
I didn't mind him coming out. So what I did, I thought, well, let's just rub it in a bit more on Detroit fans and Jerry in particular. Whether or not he listens to this, I don't know. I don't know if he listens to his own podcast, but we got Perryman, 63 games. What I did, I worked out the games that these guys have played, or the 3 starters I have listed, the yards that they've got in their career, and the touchdowns. I added it together. So the total for the 3, for Perryman, Williams, and Raymond, are 167 games, 5,710 yards, 37 TDs, right? Now, so what you do is I divided their output by how many games these guys had played. So the game output, this is what the Detroit Lions are going to move the ball through the air, 34.1 yards a game, 0.22 touchdowns per game.
That sounds about right.
So what I did, I said, well, I've got to make it a little bit fairer because they do have a quarterback. So I added Jared Goff's numbers. I did exactly the same thing: games, yards, and touchdowns. So he has 18,171 yards and 107 TDs, right? So when you work that all out and you add him to this mix, the offensive output is going to be 101.2 yards a game and 0.6 touchdowns. That's what. Jesus. So they need wide receiver help, and I feel sorry for whoever ends up in Detroit. And I put down here probably at pick 7, you'd probably be looking at someone like, I think they've had Devontae Smith going there. I've seen a few. Jalen Waddle. I have Jalen Waddle higher on my wide receiver board, so he'd be more of a guy because he does so much after the catch as well. Would that be good? Yeah, well, we know that Jared Goff can keep, wide receivers fantasy relevant without a doubt, more than one actually. But just as a wide receiver heading to Detroit in real football, just sorry.
Yeah, that entire offense, I'll be honest, the whole thing scares me, from the coaching changes, the personnel changes, to getting rid of all of their wide receivers. It's literally just TJ Hawkinson, like you said, which is a guy who I want everywhere.
Well, I didn't even I should have put him in there, but I don't think, instead of 101.2 yards, they get 107.5.
There we go.
There we go. And 0.7 touchdowns. Yeah. Actually, the touchdowns probably wouldn't change because he hasn't scored that many.
No.
Yeah, no. Either way, I don't expect huge passing numbers right now, especially if they don't add a wide receiver. But I got to believe they're taking someone with that first round pick. And I'll touch on that here in a little bit with one of the teams that I chose. But I need to hear a little bit more from Mr. Month 8. Kyle, give me a team, a landing spot. What do you want to see happen in here in a few days?
Yeah, I think the Detroit situation that G pointed out is perfect. I mean, I like if somebody lands there, is it the ideal landing spot as far as being a great offense with all this legacy and an established quarterback? No, but it's a team that's going to have to chuck the ball a freaking ton because that defense is crap. So they're going to be chasing points, and they will be the only show in town. So if it's a slot guy too, I like that because Williams and Perriman have traditionally been outside receivers. So I think there's plenty of targets for that receiver. So that he'll be whoever lands there in Detroit, especially if it's at number 7. I think they could be in conversation for wide receiver 1 or 2 for this year out of the gate. For redraft. The one spot that I put on here first at the top of my list is actually a quarterback. And I hope that somebody with some actual talent lands in the mile-high city, the Denver Broncos. Please, for the love of God, get Drew Lock out of our lives. We have Jerry Jeudy. We have Courtland Sutton. We have Noah Fant. And they're just being wasted by this guy that can't play football. Get somebody in Denver. They pick at 9. If they move up, they move up. But I'm hoping that Fields or Lance would be there for them, whether they go get their man or whether they're sitting there at their pick. But I really want a freaking quarterback in Denver. I think that would give another quarterback to the Superflex community right out of the gate, and it's gonna boost all those values. So we were talking about this actually in the DWZ network chat about somebody trying to make a move for Jerry Jeudy, just based off the fact that his value could just pop, in just 3 days' time. They draft a quarterback, it's just going to go through the roof after coming off a really rough year with plenty of targets, but just not a lot of quality there. So I'm hoping that a quarterback lands in Denver. That's what I really, really want. That's my number one wish is that the Broncos get their quarterback this year.
Yes, Kyle. I had that one on my list too. And this is, Kyle, this is one that I'm rather passionate about because I've been plenty vocal on this show about my feelings for Drew Lock and pretty much any quarterback who can barely complete half of their passes, with Josh Allen always being the exception. But you're right, man. It would be an absolute shame to see these wide receiver talents like Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy have to go through another year of mediocrity at the quarterback position. Jerry Jeudy caught just 46% of his targets last season. And it's not because he can't catch the ball. It's because Drew Lock can't deliver the football. But with Denver currently sitting at 9 overall, you got to believe they're one of the top candidates. If Atlanta was going to move back,
yes,
seems like Denver might be that team, and that would be a nice fit. If they feel like they need to go out there and get their guy. But in all honesty, they can probably sit tight where they're at and still come away with one of what seems to me like a big 5 in that Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance, and Mac Jones. We all know Jacksonville's taking a quarterback, right? We all know the Jets are taking a quarterback. We all know San Francisco's taking a quarterback. After that, we're not sure what Atlanta's going to do unless Detroit does something crazy or Carolina decides to double down and have a QB battle, a QB camp. It's entirely possible that Denver's sitting there at 9 overall with their choice of Trey Lance or Justin Fields. And if that happens, then yeah, Kyle, how impossible is it to be to trade for Courtland Sutton and or Jerry Jeudy?
Oh, it's going to be insane. If you like those guys at all, you need to go get them right now because if they draft a QB in round 1, there's no way in hell you can afford them in 3 days' time. I mean, it is what it is. Whether that's right or wrong, that's what it's going to be. I know that I have a couple of Jeudy shares in some leagues where I was trying to make some moves. I'm like, there's no way I'm selling him right now. Like, give me a few days and then you can come get him and pay, 120%.
So which quarterback of the two in Fields and Lance would up the value? Like Lance needs time.
Yeah. Yeah, I lean Justin Fields right now. That's if I'm Kyle Shanahan or if I'm anyone who has any sort of say in that San Francisco organization, I'm doing everything I can to get him to take Justin Fields at 3 overall. But the more sound bites we get, and there's some interview that came out today, it just seems like more and more likely that they're going to take Mac Jones with that pick. But if I'm choosing right now between Justin Fields and Trey Lance, yeah, you said it yourself. I think Justin Fields, he's the more polished, he's the more NFL ready player. So that's the guy. But that's not to shit on Trey Lance because I've watched plenty of his film and the dude's a baller. He's got the talent. But like you said, it's just a little raw right now. But they'll iron it out. I'm telling you, that guy's something special.
I think regardless, even if it's Lance and he does need more time, I would prefer that if he landed somewhere where he could sit for a year. That's why, if he does go to San Fran, I think they could just roll with Jimmy G. But I mean, I don't think it's out of the question though. Even if they take Lance, that he's out there by week 5 or whatever their bye week for the next week. I mean, we saw it and it didn't work out, obviously, but we saw that with Trubisky. He only had 13 starts in college, picked 3rd overall, and by week 5 or whatever, he was a starter.
Dude, why now you're trying to upset? We've already upset Jerry, and now we're upsetting Seth as well.
Well, I know that, bro.
Seth.
I know that dude doesn't listen, so I don't have to worry about it.
All right, I want to cheer up Jerry a little bit on the off chance that he is listening to this show, and he hasn't turned it off already. If he started listening to this show, so here's what I want to see: the Miami Dolphins picking it. What is that? 6 overall.
Yeah.
This is a team that I think, and I'm viewing this through the eyes of an NFL GM. Also, I'm viewing this through the eyes of somebody who rosters Tua Tagovailoa in more than one league. But I think that they should pass on Jamar Chase. I'm seeing him mocked up a lot there at 6 overall, and I think they should take Kyle Pitts, who I think is going to be available. I don't think that's going to be. Hey, you chill out over there, Kyle. You can mute the microphone right now.
You're just trying to kill off all the tight ends. We lost Jonnu Smith. We lost Hunter Henry. Now you're trying to kill Gesicki off.
Yeah, this would absolutely murder Gesicki. But, I mean, look at it through if you own Tua Tagovailoa, and now you get this offense where so they go out there and they get Kyle Pitts and they skip on Jamar Chase, and that's not great. Is he the most talented receiver in this class? I think so. Is he worthy of being taken 6 overall? Absolutely. But if they take Kyle Pitts, not only do they lock down this guy who looks like he's the greatest tight end prospect of all time, but they also pick him at 18 overall. And that's where you get to his number 1 wide receiver. Rashad Bateman, Terrace Marshall. We talked about it a little bit before we went live, how that whole bunch after Jamar Chase, you can just put them all in a basket, shuffle them up, and pick one. I know a lot of the film grinders aren't going to like to hear me say that, all the nitpicky people, but a lot of these guys, I think Rashad Bateman has just as much of a chance of hitting as Rondale Moore or as Elijah Moore or Jalen Waddle.
So you're telling me the 51 guys that I watched at wide receiver, I did it all. I should just watch Chase and then just scrap the other 50.
Well, you tell me. How was number 49?
You drop it down. But yeah, the top. I've got the top 4 guys for me. There is Chase and then Waddle. I couldn't separate them that much. And then I've got Bateman, Devontae Smith, and then you sort of. Boom! There's a tier, fair drop to a group of guys that you just put them all together. Moore, Wallace, Marshall, Brown, Estridge, Murray, whoever you want to pick, whoever you like. Everybody, has their own flavor, don't they?
Well, I think Jake, you're making a good point too. That we're gonna have to that we have to consider. It's similar to fantasy in this aspect. Like, are you taking Travis Kelce in round 1 of your draft, or are you taking Dalvin Cook, right? Yes, but you have to think about what you're going to get afterwards too. Who's going to be there in round 2? And for Miami, having multiple first round picks is a luxury. They have tons of draft capital. Would they be happy with the receiver they would get in the middle of round 1? And obviously Pitts isn't going to be there. There is no comp to him hanging around in round 1 or round 2 or round 3, or even next year where they still have they still have tons of picks. So, yeah, I think that there's a possibility there where if Pitts is sitting there at 6, then Miami's making out like a bandit after trading back from 3 to get more draft capital, get Pitts, and still have another first in their pocket. It's gonna be interesting. I think the Kyle Pitts story is by far the most intriguing to me outside of trying to figure out what the hell Kyle Shanahan is thinking with that San Fran pick. I mean, those 2 storylines are going to be awesome to follow on Thursday.
And now you do see what's happening in this hypothetical that I'm proposing, right? I forget how this whole thing started. I said Jerry is going to be very happy with what I'm about to say, because if this is how the draft plays out, that would mean Jamar Chase is on the board at 7 overall when the very wide receiver needy Detroit Lions make their first round pick. And in that hypothetical, Jamar Chase would 1,000% become a Detroit Lion. And then we can start having all those Megatron comparison conversations.
And then it finally makes Detroit look like geniuses for not franchising Kenny Galladay for whatever the hell reason that was.
Exactly. Now,
we knew we were getting Jamar Chase. We
were talking about Jared Goff for a second there and how underwhelming he might be. But what does that do? Gee, you tell me what you think that does for Jared Goff's value if they get Jamar Chase, because we're just going to Jamar Chase steps into an immediate wide receiver 1 role. And that's huge, right?
Oh, mate, and great for Jerry again, who drafted Jared Goff really high in startup league that we did a couple of years ago. Like, I
really
think
high.
Was he
201 last year? Last year.
So if Chase goes there, Jerry's winning. Mate, he's just
making out like a friggin' bandit.
Oh, it's New Year's Eve, Christmas,
Hanukkah,
whatever.
It's Sinclair household.
And that's what I said about the Dolphins as well. Like the Dolphins is like, doesn't matter what religion you follow, but all the Christmases and everything are coming at once, don't they? They got to pick 6, 18, 36, and 50.
It's gonna be so hard to score.
Get this guy, get to us some weapons. Let's see this.
Oh, well, I've got down here, they're either going to pick up Pitts or wide receiver. They could, Chase or Waddle or whoever they want. Smith, depending on, they might not want an outside guy. They've got Preston Williams. But they need an edge. So maybe they need an edge guy. So maybe pick 18, they go and grab one of the top edge guys. And then at 36, mate, at the moment, I had them down here as well, but I had them, they could do anything. Like at running back, at pick 36, you're probably thinking by then Najee Harris may be gone. So then you got ETN will possibly still be there, or the guy that I like, and that's Javonte Williams, that would fit better into that system because of the type of runner that he is, where they've already got sort of, that quick, speedy guy in Myles Gaskin. So you pair them up. So I had them taken, just running back, tight end, wide receiver. Take your pick. It's amazing what they've got to play with. They've done a great job in sort of getting the draft to this point.
Kyle, real quick, what are your thoughts on it, on Myles Gaskin? Because he's one of those guys who's kind of like falling or flying under the radar this offseason, because it's like people kind of just assume they're going to add to that running back room. It's like the James Robinson situation, but James Robinson gets talked about, but Myles Gaskin doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is Robinson's a borderline 1 based off of all the volume he got last year, and Gaskin is a flex, at best. I mean, he had some moments. I started him in a bunch of leagues. You picked him up for free last year, which is great, because if he turns into a pumpkin on draft night, it didn't cost you much, right? You got to ride it out for 8 games or whatever last year, and it was fine. It is. He'll be one of those guys, though, if we make it through Friday, pretty much. If they only spend a day 3 pick on the running back position, then Gaskin enters the conversation, as a low end 2, as a flex option in your draft that you're going to be able to take in redraft leagues in rounds probably 7, 8, and people are going to just see him as a volume guy. But I think that they've added enough, as far as on that offense, that he would definitely bring that value, and it'd probably be underrated at that point. So I know a lot of people are kind of looking at that. I actually as I was marking this out, I ended up with 4 just smash landing spots for the running back, like where fantasy owners are going to be thrilled. What's going to happen is, like it does every single year, is that we have all these running backs, and at least 1, maybe 2 of the guys we really like are going to land somewhere not ideal. And there's going to be a team that we were hoping that took a running back that didn't. Miami could be one of those teams if they're fine with what they have, and if they really believe that running back doesn't really matter, because you can usually finally get these guys late. So if I'm a Gaskins owner, I'm hoping that Miami doesn't draft a guy till Saturday. But it's a good, I think it's a decent landing spot. It's not my favorite running back landing spot, but a lot of volume there, potentially for whoever comes in.
Like Myles Gaskin averaged 16.4 PPR points per game last year. So if he had played a full season, he would have finished as RB5.
That's pretty decent, I guess.
Mate, I guess week 16 in your championship week, mate, 169 yards, 2 TDs. Thank you very much. I guess I underestimated that he was I think I might have called him an RB2 last year. I mean, he was solid when he was out there, when he got his opportunities. They were there. And even I think when he missed a game in the middle of that, and everyone's clamoring to get Ahmed or whatever.
Salvin Ahmed. What happened to that guy? I thought he was
baller, dude. He's still there. He's still around. So like this, I think this team, the defense is good enough there. Like, it's not a team that needs to get offensive weapons so that they can keep up. They need offensive weapons to win games, but not to like offset the fact their defense is trash. Their defense is fine. If they can really put something together on offense to make it steady, I think the running back there then has a really nice value for Miami. So again, it's not my favorite landing spot, but it's definitely one that if a guy lands there, that could be the difference between if you're kind of debating between ETN and Williams, and ETN lands somewhere where he's got a little bit more competition, and Javonte lands in Miami. That's like, all right, maybe that's enough of the edge where landing spot makes that difference.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I feel like people are a little too, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is here. Like they put a lot of weight on the landing spot thing. Like I remember when DeAndre Swift went to Detroit, everyone's like, oh no, what a terrible spot. And then the same thing with CeeDee Lamb. It wasn't like, oh, he's with Dak Prescott. Right away, people were just bummed that he wasn't falling into a spot where he was just going to be the immediate wide receiver one. He's got to compete with targets with these other two guys, but the talent shows through, man. I mean, you can get bad landing spots, but sometimes it just it ain't all that bad,
I don't think it's so much like everybody. I think it's more that Detroit, just because it's Detroit.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, AJ Brown a couple of years ago. I mean, everyone absolutely were trashed on that, even though the talent was there, and we sunk him. And and he ended up being obviously a beast. So if you got him at good value. We've seen, and then obviously I think it was brought up last week. You see the opposite, where then the landing spot is so good that the guy climbs up your board, Keyshawn Vaughn, and then you're overpriced. Then he's overpriced, right? But real quick, we got G on here, so I gotta give a shout out. Andrew in the chat, he immediately, as soon as we go on here, says OMG because of G, obviously. Ben on here said good morning from Australia, and my buddy Darren from the FUCC League, he chimed in the chat today. So you got to be watching us on YouTube to let give your opinions. I'll never look at them, but this time I did. So we had that.
I'll be catching up with Ben on Friday morning for the draft. We're going to a local pub, sports bar.
There we go.
Down and drink.
I was gonna say, when do you have to start drinking to watch the draft? And
I think it starts at 10ish around that time here in the morning.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So first shots at 5:30. So,
I like the way you guys are living out there. Gee, why don't you give me another team, another landing spot that you'd like to see go down here in a few days?
Well, I think with what Cole just spoke about, like landing spots for running backs, mate, you can't go past the New York Jets, can you? Like from a fantasy point of view, like my God, they got LaMichael Pirine, Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman, and Josh Adams.
Tevin Coleman, baby, let's go!
Straight line Coleman.
Tevin Coleman season, baby.
I may or may not have a lot of shares. If anyone's in the market, just find me in your local league. I will be the guy with Tevin Coleman.
God. Okay, mate, they pick 23. Like the problem with the Jets is they need a lot.
Yes.
Going to get a new quarterback, a good, solid, strong, physical, a great mover at running back would really help. And it's just he's going to get. He's number one straight out of the box. Carries day one, bang, yours. This is your backfield. Take it. So from a fantasy point, I don't think a running back could probably land in a better position for being the guy straight out of the bat than the Jets.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
No, I agree. There's other landing spots I like in good offenses. Yeah, this one's up in the air a little bit, but LaFleur coming in, they're going to run that Shanahan zone run scheme. I think it's going to be freaking awesome, for whoever walks in there, because you're going to see the most touches of any of the rookie running backs, I think, right away.
The Steelers would be the next one, wouldn't it? And they're picking. I think they got that.
I was
24.
From the Jets' perspective, it makes a lot of sense to take a running back with that pick at 23 because, yes, the Steelers pick at 24. And if any team in the first round was going to take a running back, it seems like it's going to be the Steelers. So,
if he doesn't go there, he's going to the Steelers. But those Benny Snell and Anthony McFarlane are sitting there going, "Take him, Jets, take him," because the Benny Snell's just about to go off, isn't he?
Yeah, sure. I might have more than one Anthony McFarlane share too. So
you're an idiot, Jake.
See, the thing about the Jet situation is Pirine was the previous regime, right? So it's not like the Steelers situation where these guys were drafted by the everyone that's there, because no one ever gets fired from the Steelers because they just win. Stupid Jets, they go through coaches like water. So the Pirine has nothing. He means nothing to these guys coming in, right? And honestly, too, the Jets need to draft someone so that I don't accidentally keep drafting Tevin Coleman in leagues, because if they don't draft anyone, Coleman's been in the system and then I'm gonna keep taking him in round 10 in my redraft leagues for some dumbass reason. So
the
Jets got to save me from myself.
I love how you say accidentally take him. Like my bad.
I've drafted so much Tevin Coleman.
But the guy that drafted Tevin Coleman got rid of him. What's that tell you?
I know. But I do like the call. That's one that a lot of people aren't talking about, but I think there is the most opportunity available for a running back if they land in New York with the Jets.
Isn't that weird? Like, we draft Tevin Coleman. I leave. We know who we're talking about. I leave. Yep. I bring Tevin Coleman with me. And then I just go, bang. I just handball, and that's Australian football. Just gone. Like, no, I don't want him. Like, I made a mistake twice.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I'm not making the same mistake again.
Kyle, I think it's your turn on this.
I was just going to say, too, the Jets need a running back, mate. Can you tell me the last 1,000-yard runner that they had?
Oh, I know this. I think I know it. Go ahead, Jake.
Good, Kyle, good.
Is it Thomas Jones?
No.
Damn it.
Thomas Jones?
Yes. Thomas Jones. He used to play for the Bears, and then he came.
Was I born?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Thomas Jones, right?
I don't even know that name.
I'm gonna fact check myself.
Who were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Curtis Martin.
No, it was Chris Ivory.
Chris Ivory. Damn it! I know. That was a Chan Gailey Jets offense.
170 yards, 7 touchdowns. He was ranked fifth in 2015. And since then, it's gone backwards. They've had the 20th, Matt Forte, the 22nd, Blau Powell, 28th, Isaiah Crowell, 24th, Lev Bell, and last year, Frank Gore was 30th.
Oh, that was hard. That was a hard name to listen, or a hard
dude.
But
give him something.
Here, I won't show any Thomas Jones highlights because we don't want to get banned from YouTube like our brothers down under. But here's Thomas Jones's Wikipedia page. You can't see it. No, but he had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons with the Jets from 2007 to 2009. 1,100 yards, 1,300 yards, 1,400 yards. He had freaking 27 touchdowns in 2008, 2009.
Wow.
Rushing.
Kyle was not going to let us sit here and besmirch the name Thomas Jones.
No.
Had to get a Wikipedia page, bring up his career stats.
I can't let that happen. Come on now.
Kyle, I think we're, like I was saying before, I think we're at you now in the fantasy carousel we have going on here. So why don't you give me another team, another landing spot you like?
Yeah, I'm just going to, I think this is probably one of the obvious. I know they signed somebody, and I don't know if you guys would throw out your own team, but if the Atlanta Falcons draft a running back, that's somebody that I'm really going to target. I think that's going to be, now I'm not getting caught up in this is the Derrick Henry, offensive coordinator. He's coming in here. There he is. All right. So on the YouTube here, G's saying Javonte Williams is going to Atlanta. That's what he wants, apparently. This is Mike Davis. That's great. Good for him, making a hell of a career for himself. And that's a fine backup option to have on your team and available. But, or Travis Etienne. There we go. He had it written down, folks. So G's well ahead of the game here. This is a situation where the shell of Todd Gurley just wandered and fell into RB25 numbers on the year, tied for 9th in the league with 9 rushing touchdowns. He averaged like 3 yards a carry. And
the one time we didn't want him to fall, he fell and scored a touchdown, you idiot.
That's true. He cost you a game by scoring a touchdown. I think this is a situation where there's tons of running back opportunities. It's a good offense, going to move the ball. When they're having a new head coach come in, I don't think it's going to be exactly like, okay, he's running the offense that he ran in Tennessee, and this running back is going to be Derrick Henry, right? Derrick Henry is his own freak of nature self. There is no other Derrick Henrys, right? But it doesn't mean that you won't have a ton of running back production in this offense. And this offense is going to have to score a ton because their defense is going to have a long road ahead of it. And this running back, I think, is in a great situation to come right in and put up production right away. The Jets is definitely one where there's a ton of opportunity. Mike Davis being there in Atlanta maybe takes some of the shine off it a little bit, but if that's what you can do to take advantage of that from a dynasty perspective right out the gate, or in redraft leagues when we're drafting, if somebody's worried about Mike Davis, if they land one of those top 3 running backs especially, man, I'm going to be pumped if they're wearing the black and red and they're going to be in the ATL. So give me that.
Mate, I put down Javonte Williams because I had the Falcons as well, taking a running back. I said Travis Etienne. Now, Travis Etienne would be, like, both of them would be a good match with Mike Davis because he's a big pounder of the rock. Etienne would probably be a better complement to that. because he's a shifty. Mate, I really like the way that he sets up linebackers and the way he moves. His processing of what's going on in front of him is really quick. So that's great. And I've just put down Javonte Williams because I think he's a 3-down back. So if you wanted someone to be your number one guy all 3 downs, I think Javonte Williams is probably better than Travis Etienne. Mm-hmm. Travis Etienne's not a pole mover. He's got good functional strength, but it's just not. He's not a pounder. Mm-hmm. So it depends on what you want. If you want the dual backfield, Etienne would be the guy. If you want someone who could take over this backfield, I prefer Javonte Williams. That's a side that we're thinking that Harris has already gone. So Davis is 28 years old. So
yeah, it's not. That was a 1-year stopgap solution just in case they didn't get the running back. I think. Yeah. This has happened to Davis before. It's happened in Chicago. When they drafted David Montgomery, they had Mike Davis in camp with them. They drafted Montgomery and then kicked Davis to the curb, and he started productive.
165 carries, 464. What was it? 642 yards at 3.9. It's not. You're not toting the rock that well. Yeah, that's Mike Davis.
A lot of passing game production for him in Carolina. They didn't have a plan for not having Christian McCaffrey, so they had makeshift Big Lots Christian McCaffrey out there in Mike Davis. So that was great fantasy production, a great story. But let's put one of these prime names in Atlanta.
Yeah, with just Mike Davis in the backfield, it's not a matter of if Atlanta's taking a running back. It's just a matter of which pick they end up spending it on. And sitting there with pick 35, it seems like they're going to have pretty much everyone at their disposal except probably Najee Harris goes.
Let's go.
Yes. I think that's kind of all in the camp that we're sitting in right now. But I'm gonna stay in the running back lane here, and I want to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this has been kind of a Jerry Sinclair episode. So,
yeah, it has.
He's a known James Robinson guy, if I'm mistaken. And I originally wrote here that what I didn't want, because this whole time it's been I want this person to, I want this landing spot here, I want this player here, I want this position being taken here. The Jacksonville Jaguars, man, I just do not want to see them take a running back. And I'm not too passionate about it because I don't have more than probably one James Robinson dynasty share out there because I'm smarter than that. I'm smarter than that. But listen, we Kyle and I got all excited, or at least I got excited when Jacksonville signed Carlos Hyde. For me, that was a veteran depth move if I've ever seen one. That to me says, okay, James Robinson, you're our guy. We're not going to go get a running back in free agency. But I refused to jump on that James Robinson bandwagon until he survived the draft, which I think he cannot survive this draft. Because along with picks 101, Jacksonville has 25 overall, 33 overall, and 45 overall. And that, guys, is prime real estate running back territory. That's a late first, a early second, and a mid second,
and 65 overall too. So that's an early third. That's the first pick of the third round. So
absolutely,
even that is good enough. Like I had that on my list too. As far as if you believe in James Robinson, you better hope to God they don't spend one of those first other 4 picks outside of the 101 on a running back, because they got plenty to spare right now. I guess we'll see.
So let's just say Harris is gone. We've given so what pick are they going to use on a running back? Which of those picks?
I think,
man, that's tough. I was leaning with, if I'm Jacksonville, I think you do it at 25, just because after you've got Buffalo, which was another team I was going to bring up that I think would be would be a nice fit for a running back. Also at 32, people have talked about Tampa Bay maybe making a move on a running back, which makes me it just makes me nauseous even thinking about the idea of them taking a running back in the first round. But I think it makes a lot of sense to make the move right at 25, right after Pittsburgh, especially if Pittsburgh doesn't take a running back and you do have Najee Harris sitting there at 25. I'd take that all day.
Okay. Because I was thinking, do they leave it to like maybe someone like the 101 pick? Now, what round's that? That's round. What's that? Round 3.
With all the
end of 3.
With all the compensatory picks, I can never keep track. I think it's round. I think they had a round. I don't know that they didn't have their own round 4 pick, so it wasn't an early round 4. I think it was a mid round 4 because I did double check on that.
Do you go out and get someone like Now, do they have a zone blocking scheme there?
I don't know what.
I'm not too sure.
Urban Meyer.
So if you, sorry, go on.
I was just saying they're bringing in the whole Urban Meyer crew. I don't know. I don't know what they got going on.
Okay, because I said, mate, Chuba Hubbard.
Yep.
It just sounds like something you put in your mouth and suck on. But like he's really just dropped away. And mate, you look at his 2020 footage, and it's horrid. Now there were other circumstances off field with things that were going on there. But you look at his 2019, and the dude was an animal, and no one's even talking about him near the top.
Yeah.
Now, if he falls into the third round, mate, poof, and you get 2019 version, mate, you'd be absolutely wrapped.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard was a guy that we brought up last week.
Chuba.
Talking to Chuba Hubba. Yeah, I brought him up, and we were talking to Matt Hicks last week, and he wasn't overly optimistic about him. But you're right, his numbers were just off the charts in 2019. So if there's even a fraction of that still in the tank, and you never know, because some of these guys didn't even play last season. I mean, if Chuba Hubbard takes that route and he doesn't even play in 2020, maybe we're talking about a big 4 running back class here with Chuba Hubbard right there with Javonte Williams and Najee Harris.
He would have been number 3. The big 3 would have been probably at the time ETN, Harris, and Hubbard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I think he's gonna end up being a steal wherever he gets taken. If he falls into the 4th round, forget about it. But in the 3rd round, even there's gonna be talent out there, man. Kenny Gainwell, he's a guy that I like a lot. There's gonna be picks there, and that's why I'm thinking with Jacksonville having 3 or 4 picks in the first, however many, they're gonna. I don't think James Robinson survives it. I don't think that there's any way possible, even if they bring in a guy as a quote unquote depth piece, it's going to be competition. And James Robinson, you're going to hate this, James Robinson truthers, isn't a special running back. I think he's fine. I think he does great when he has 100% of the opportunity share, but I think a lot of running backs would do great with 100% of the opportunity share. So we'll see what they do, but I think you've got about 2.5 more days by the time you're listening to this to sell on James Robinson.
If with all that, I mean, for me, it has to be a day 3 pick, or otherwise, then his value is going to be zapped. You copy and paste all of those things we pretty much said about all of the draft picks that they have and everything that's available to them. Paste that on their wide receivers, because if you like Chenault, if you're still counting on Chark, if you think that what Marvin Jones they brought in, right? If you think those guys are going to have value, that's great. But if they add another body, middle round 1, early round 2, it's going to just clutter that a little bit more too. So that Jacksonville situation could get pretty interesting if they spend a pick on one of those skill positions. They got plenty of picks, so I guess we'll see.
I think we got enough time for each of us to maybe hit one more team / situation that we want to chat about. G, you got another one ready for us to go?
Oh, mate, I've got a couple here. I've got who do you want to go to? I've got the Saints.
Pick your favorite, my man.
I got Saints, but I've even got one that is probably people would not, with compared to what we've been looking at, like teams that are desperate for for players at a given position. But I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns. Like, there comes a point where you have to address the wide receiver room, because mate, you've got OBJ that mate, he's had what was it, the 3 first seasons in New York, and then after that, it's sort of been a real roller coaster ride with OBJ. Yeah, and mate, even that, God, that's a fair call too. He had 2019 had 1,000 yards, over 1,000, but only 4 TDs in his first year there. And this is a guy that everybody's going and was grabbing, one of the top guys at wide receiver. And he's what, 20? He's 28, I think roughly around about there. And then you've also got Jarvis Landry, mate, who I think is just an absolute machine of a wide receiver. And he's also 28. So they're your top 2 guys.
Yeah.
You got OBJ coming off the torn ACL, and he played 7 games last year. Jarvis Landry, I think he'd play through a torn ACL, to be honest. It's just the type of guy he is. He gets 100 targets every year he's been in. He's been there. But they've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was a round 6 pick. They got Rashard Higgins, who's a competent receiver to spell somebody, but they need another receiver. They've got picks 26 and 59. They're not going to use 26 on a receiver. They might not even use 59. I don't know. Actually, I should have put down the next one after that. But that's a position that they need to grab a decent guy. So who we got? It's 59. If they took someone at 59, who are you going to get? Top guys are gone. Oh, that's a really good question. Because we've got, like we spoke about, we've got those guys that are in that sort of that range of that group, Rondale Moore, the Tylan Wallace, Terrence Marshall's probably been mocked to go.
Diami Brown.
Damien Brown, Dwayne Eskridge would be a good pickup. He's sort of in that mold of Jarvis Landry, that physical, tough, get in your face sort of guy. Or do they go, someone a bit bigger and, wait a bit later and maybe take someone like a Nico Collins, But then are you going back down that Donovan Peoples-Jones path?
Yeah.
Where you don't know what you're going to get. I just think that's the position that they eventually you have to address. And
yeah, you're right. They have to. And watching Baker Mayfield last year, this is a guy that I'm still optimistic about. I think a lot of people are quick to just throw him in the trash, but even last season when he didn't have OBJ by his side, when he's throwing to these guys, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, insert next backup guy here, he's throwing for 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 330, 4 touchdowns. And that's pretty much his good game log, but Baker has it in him. Give him some weapons to throw to. Throw the ball a little more and keep the defense honest. Maybe that just helps out your run game. But I couldn't agree more. They need to give at least some receiver depth. Something.
Yes.
All they got right now is aging OBJ and aging Jarvis Landry. Kyle, what do we got, man? Who do you want to talk about?
I want the Carolina Panthers to stay the hell away from a wide receiver. I want DJ Moore to get his damn shot. CMC is going to get his, and Robbie A, if he's the third option, can take the top off the defense and still get done with Sam Darnold. Darnold's got enough weapons. Believe he had nothing. He was throwing the ball to the corpse of whoever the hell wide receiver they had last. I guess they had Jameson Crowder. There's
Rashard
that.
Perriman again.
Rashard Perriman again. This is good enough. DJ Moore's great. You got Robbie Anderson, team back up with him. CMC back in the fold. That's enough weapons. That we want an uncluttered team in Carolina. Darnold can still be useful in a super flex league with those options. Now Carolina, they have the early pick and at 8 overall, we'll see what they do there. Then they have an early pick in the second round. If they trade back, it's going to give more draft capital. So maybe they would spend a pick on a wide receiver. That's what I would really be worried about if they take a guy in the first 2 rounds. But I don't want them being a team that's like, oh, we lost Curtis Samuel, we got to go out and fill that void with an early, day 2 pick. Even I would be like, damn it. I want more to get us to get in the freaking end zone. So if that means less targets available, as far as bodies in the way, whatever it takes, man. So I think that they're in a good position, the right amount of just right. It's like the baby bear wide receiver group, just enough, just right.
What was Darnold's chemistry like with Robbie Anderson when they were in New York?
I mean, Adam Gase level.
I know. Isn't it amazing? It doesn't matter what you say about the players on the team.
It's the best.
You have to take in the Gase effect
it's the
on
best.
Everything.
I don't even need to look it up or give a real opinion. I can just be like, Adam Gase. And analysis. I mean, I don't remember. I know, obviously that Anderson was I just felt like he was a different wide receiver last year because he had to be with Bridgewater, not throwing the ball deep. But in New York, he was a deep threat, and he can be that role again if they're going to let him, chuck it a bit because you have the underneath guys already. So I really like all these guys. I just don't want them to crowd it up with another, even a second round guy.
Do they need maybe a more big body receiver there.
No. That's exactly what we don't want.
I think, yeah. I think what
I don't have any shares in DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson, so I don't really give a shit. So
honestly, like, I think it'd be more likely.
Kyle.
I think it'd be more likely, like, if they took a tight end, like they literally have no one at freaking tight end, you know.
No.
So like I could see them doing that, and I guess you just have to deal with it because they're not just going to roll with no one, right? But I don't want a big body wide receiver. I don't want any wide receiver. I just leave them alone. They can draft a guy in round four. But that's that situation where I was looking. I was like, I like this. Just leave it alone, just like it is.
I'm thinking of Sam Darnold. I'm not thinking of Kyle.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Sam Darnold.
He's already got the best weapons he's ever had. He's ever going to play with. So I mean, let's go.
Let's not say ever. There's a good chance that he gets traded, to maybe somewhere else.
I have one more team I want to touch on real quick before we wrap this up. The Buffalo Bills. I mentioned them a second ago here. They pick at the end of the first round. Guys, this is a team that deserves a difference maker in that backfield. You think the Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs connection is scary now? Wait until they have a legit 3-down back that they can put in that backfield, and defenses have to start respecting that run game because the Devin Singletary experiment, it was fun. He had some solid games. Zach Moss, I think he's fine, but he's not great. But when Buffalo's on the clock at pick 30, they're going to have a chance to add someone who can be great. And I talked about how it was like a 3-man class for me, Harris, Etienne, Javonte. Maybe Pittsburgh takes Harris at 24. Maybe Etienne goes to Jacksonville at 25. And if that's the case,
oh my God, dude,
that's a good landing spot for Etienne.
That is a lot. That is a lot of running backs.
If listen, man, crazier things have happened. If that's the case, they need to step up and they need to call Javonte Williams to the podium right away with 10 seconds off the clock. They should have someone sprinting to the podium. And then their next call needs to be to Zach Moss, informing him of his release. It's been fun having you on the team, Zach. We appreciate your work. But that's all I got, guys. I think that team could just be lethal if they had a real threat at running back, because right now I don't think Zach Moss is it, and I know that Devin Singletary is not it. What do you think, G?
I don't know if that's the way they're set up, though. I think they're happy having a committee running back. I just think that's just. We spoke about this on our pod. Was it last week? What day is it? Monday? Yeah, last week on the weekend actually. We came to the conclusion, or some of us came to the conclusion, my co-host AJ, that that's just the way that the Bills like the backfield. They just like the committee works for them. They don't need that, that 3-down back guy. Yeah. Would it be good for football? Would it be good for a running back? I don't know. There's going to be a lot of Singletary fans that'd be really pissed. Like Zach Moss, I didn't like Zach Moss coming out anyway. So, and
the big problem with my theory is even if they did take a running back at that spot, like you said, they wouldn't.
I don't think it'll happen. They
wouldn't commit to that guy. He would all of a sudden be part of a 3-way committee, like what Green Bay was doing with, to a lesser degree. They probably wouldn't even.
So why are you sending someone there, mate? You're just sending someone straight to the grave.
No. You heard me. I want them. They can cut Zach Moss.
There's still a committee, though. There's still a committee. That's still going to use Devin Singletary.
If they're drafting a guy in the first round, then it's not a committee anymore. But,
no, I suppose not. I don't think they do it.
Dude, Jake, if you I don't know, okay, if you can legally gamble in Pennsylvania, I can't keep track of this, whatever. And I'm sure
we can.
And I'm sure Memphis is gonna probably sue my ass for infringing on his props and propzillas and all of those things. But if you honestly think that 3 running backs are going in the first round, you need to go put some big ass money on that, because the over under is at 1.5 at plus 175. I mean, that is just go smash that. It
can happen. There are 3 teams that could use a running back that dare I say would need a running back. Maybe Buffalo doesn't need a running back, but there's 2 teams in the first round that need a running back, and I'm just saying, we've seen crazier things happen.
I think once Najee Harris goes off the board, everybody else is going to sit on their hands in the running back.
That's got to be my guess too. I don't know if I put my money on the under at 1.5 in the first round, but we'll see. If Jake's the GM of these teams,
Well,
They're all
that's
being
fine.
drafted.
I guess only one of us wants to have fun on tonight's show and come up with articles. Guess I'll be that person. But
Sorry for putting logic in here. I should have known better than that. What a dumbass move.
Bring the room back down.
That's me. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's Kyle for you.
Hey, dude, I said to Kyle too. Maybe that soundboard. Have you got some other noises on there?
Yeah, I can add whatever.
Oh.
G's got to hook. You guys have to get. You guys got to have that conversation. I'm sure G has tons of great ideas.
Yeah, message me on Twitter. I've got your Twitter handle nowadays.
Beautiful.
Now it's Lucky Strike. I've been friends with G on Twitter for freaking like 7 years. I never knew what it was. I was like, who the hell is this Lykestra? Whatever the hell.
Lukey.
I've honestly never tried to pronounce. I'm just like, that's G. I just know that's this guy commenting on my GIF game here, just trying to smash.
That's something we didn't bring up. Like
best in the business, folks. At Kyle Month 8 on Twitter. You know what's up.
Well, we can talk about that for a second. Kyle, that is the best Falcons gift that you dropped. The one where, if you're listening, if you search Falcons right now under GIF, you'll get the same video of this one guy just dancing in the stands, and he's killing it.
With the worst, my most hated thing in the entire world is the guy that obviously got the tickets from like his work or something like that. He showed up with his dress shirt and tie, spent $130 million on a Julio Jones jersey at the pro shop on the way in, and wears it over his collared shirt. I'm just
that video was probably taken in 2016, but he's wearing like a Mike Vick jersey.
I'm gonna post that on Twitter as soon as we get off here because that's
not good. Your GIF usage is horrid.
Dude, that's all. First of all, if you don't like my GIF usage, you might as well unfollow me because that's all I use. That's all I use. I don't want to type something out because I can't spell. So I need to. All my responses are just GIFs. That's all it is, just over and over.
Folks, for all of your best gifts, make sure you follow Kyle at Kyle8 on Twitter. For your second best gifts, you can follow G. He is Lucky Strike LUKYSTRYK. And for your most underwhelming gifts, I am at Jake Takes FF on Twitter. Kyle, you have anything else you want to say before we sign out of here?
No, man. Just tune back next week. We're going to be doing some mock draft shows after the NFL draft. Follow me on Twitter. We'll be posting out some really crappy draft takes. So just stay subscribed, tuned in, and we'll catch you guys next week.